Quick video on stress. I'm going to try to keep it under 10 minutes. I was watching a National Geographic documentary or episode about something. It was about stress. And in the first part, they look at these primate groups. One primate group in particular, they study. It's got a hierarchy, high dominance, low dominance, and they examine the differences in the low dominance and the high dominance, and they find differences. Two differences I'm going to talk about in the brain with brain cells, specifically in the hypothalamus, which is responsible for cognition and memory, and the other is the arteries. So in the lower rung of the monkeys, right, they had severe, or rather they had more serious artery clogging because of the stress hormones binding to things and getting caught in their arteries. That's what they theorized. I would think their diets are mostly similar between the hierarchy chain there. I'm sure there's some differences, but for the most part, I think they probably have the same diets. So you could probably rule out diet as a significant factor for that. And not that I'm saying it isn't a factor, but I'm just saying I don't think it's overly significant because the main variable they're trying to measure is the stress. And the other thing they found was the brain cells were more deteriorated in the hypothalamus in the lower rung monkeys than the higher rung monkeys. And on the higher ranks, the higher rank monkeys, they were healthier. And when you think about stress and trauma, if you've talked to anybody or you've experienced trauma or you know anybody who has, you can see how it changes a person, how it changes you, and real physical changes in the brain. And that sometimes an event can be so stressful and so traumatic, even just like cognitive dissonance, but that's another topic, I digress, that you'll go through this and the body will shut down, the brain will shut down, the brain will create a place for you to go when you're going through this terrible event, so you don't remember it because it doesn't want you to process it. It's like shit, it's like saving you. But your body will still remember the trauma. It's just kind of like you won't have a cognitive memory of it. You'll have a psychophysical memory of it. And this is interesting because, we have the grotesque phenomenon of genital mutilation throughout the world, in certain countries, but even in here in the U.S., where we're supposedly a civilized country, it's a medically sanctioned practice to do that to a large population of, young males without their consent. And when people say, oh, well, they do that when they're young, that way they don't remember it. Well, how can you make that argument when we know that the hypothalamus and the brain will literally shut down and prevent you from even, remembering it, but the body will still remember it. Freud said that when trauma happens to the body or a person, it's more impactful and damaging the younger they are. And you look around at our society today in America, and you tell me that's not the case with some people. And you have people carrying on this tradition. Oh, well, I had it done, so they're going to have it done. And they might be making that decision subconsciously without even any sort of afterthought because it's been programmed into them, right? Oh, it happened to me, it's got to happen to you. It takes a lot to break the cycle, even just in your average, abusive household where abuse is kind of passed down or toxic relationships are passed down. It takes a lot to become self-aware, heal, and then break away from that cycle. That's something interesting. And I guess in the brain, they showed also that the cells were degenerated in the lower caste monkeys than the higher caste monkeys, that the stress caused so much, was such a taxing event for the body and the brain that it reduced the cognition and memory in these monkeys. That's food for thought. And then it goes on to talk about human populations and generally humans in cities, different groups in cities, and how the environments and living conditions impact them. And a big part of it, too, is like financial, right? So, when we're talking about the diet, because this is a diet-based channel, so, the theory is, you can manage stress with a diet. I don't think it's everything. I think a lot of it is to, just your environment in general and what you can control. And some people can really deal with stress and they don't have a problem with it. Some people even like to be stressed out. Some people are addicted to being stressed out. Because again, that's hormones. When you're starved for hormones and fat, your body's going to seek that in other ways. And that's not just stress. That's, a lot of different things where you have hormones. Again, different topic, not going to get into it. But, as you're stressed out, that stuff gets stored in your body. It's a psychophysical thing, like the genital mutilation, like any sort of abuse you experience, or assaults or traumatic events. That's something that's going to come out of your body, and you have to deal with it later, even if you're not on a primal diet. But if you're on a primal diet, it might come out faster and more intense because your body will be replacing those cells. It's rebuilding your body. So when you think about it, like, what's the best way to deal with it? You can deal with it with your diet, but you can also, exercise. Isn't it interesting how we call it exercise? Exercising the demons. And you can go to the gym, go rowing, ride a bike, do something productive, learn a martial art, or boxing. But I wouldn't say it's good to go in there with the mindset of, oh, I'm traumatized and I want to beat somebody up. That's not too great. It might not serve you well, but I mean, if you channel it right, it could. I'm not saying, never say never, but just in terms of expectations and health and being responsible. But you don't have to do anything like exercise like that. You can do fishing, painting, drawing, writing, reading, something productive to kind of rechannel your brain, kind of channel those emotions into something else out of your body. So it isn't hurting you. It's not lingering. There's the primal therapy aspect. And I talked about this in my emotional detox video a little bit, that when you're doing that, you're just kind of continuing the cycle, you're continuing the rage, and it's not very good long term. For a short term release, it could help, but long term, I don't think it would be a good thing to do. So just something to keep in mind. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone deals with stress in different ways. The ideal part is to learn how to deal with it in healthy ways, to learn how to kind of move past stress and say, okay, well, I know stress is bad for me. What can I do to make it not as bad for me, or to not have stress? We're never not going to have stress, right? And financially is a big part of that too. Like, especially with the diet, if you're worried about something, worried about how good you can do the diet, or you can't afford the diet, or you have to work so much to afford the diet, that can stress you out. That may not be a benefit. But if you work a lot and you afford the diet and you're like, yeah, this is great for me, then yeah, it works for you. You might be a person more suited to that. But, you got to think about what's practical and what's healthy for you. Not everyone's going to have the same goal there. Because I know a lot of people watch this channel are on the primal diet. Some of them may not be on it all the way. Some of them may not be on it at all. Some of them may just eat raw meat. And that's all fine. No judgments here. But, it's good to know how to deal with stress no matter what diet you're on, and things you can do to healthfully take care of that. So that's about all I want to say on that. If you have any questions or comments, and maybe I've given you some food for thought to do some more research. This is something I would like to look more into as well. But I don't really have the time right now. I'm kind of busy. And I'm reading a book called Enzyme Nutrition. I think it's something Ajahn has cited or recommended. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope it helped.